Exposed, the incredible journey of a heartbroken husband's amazing revenge after losing everything. Tom shattered the silence of the cold night with his ragged breath, gasping for hope as he stared at the peeling paint of the home he had built with Sophie. The once vibrant walls now felt like tombstones marking a life full of dreams that had turned to dust. Just 3 months ago, he'd lost her to an unforeseen illness that slammed into their lives like a freight train, leaving him struggling under a mountain of medical bills and a grief that wrapped around his heart like a vice. He could hardly breathe. The landlord, a man with cold eyes and a greed to match, showed no mercy when he served Tom the eviction notice. "It's about business," he sneered, as if that made the gut-wrenching blow any softer. The family memories clung to the walls of that home, whispers of laughter and love now echoing in his mind as he stood on the cold sidewalk with nothing but a worn-out teddy bear in his shaking hands. It had once brought comfort to his daughter, now grown and gone, but now it felt as heavy as his despair. Desperation clawed at Tom, but fate had a different plan. Wandering through Maple Grove, the town that had cradled his family's dreams, he stumbled upon a circle of veterans and community members standing strong against the looming threat of poverty. Every face told a story. Their eyes glinted with a shared understanding, a flicker of defiance igniting within him. It was his lifeline, an adventure waiting to happen. For Sophie, for their family, he wouldn't let the darkness win. With the support of old friends, they began to organize small protests in front of the landlord's office, their voices blending into a powerful chorus demanding justice. Each gathering fueled an emotional awakening, shaking the town from its weary slumber. The heart of Maple Grove began to beat again. That night, at the town meeting, Tom stood before his neighbors, the weight of his sorrow wrapped around him like a cloak. "We've been knocked down," he pleaded, the tremor in his voice barely stifling the grief, "but we're not out. We owe it to Sophie and to each other to fight for what's right." The room erupted in applause, neighbors who once kept their heads down now rising, their spirits intertwined with his. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Tom left that meeting, the energy felt electric, hope flickered in every heart. Yet doubt shadowed his every step, as whispers circulated about the landlord's connections buried deep within local politics. Friends became wary of each other, alliances strained. Would they stand united, or would suspicion tear apart their budding movement? Tom clenched the teddy bear tightly, its worn stitches reminding him of the love he once held dearly. He was standing on the edge of retribution, something stirring within him that felt like courage could it blossom amidst the doubts. The impending town showdown loomed ahead, and he knew one thing: they all wanted their lives back. But as the clock ticked toward that crucial moment, Tom couldn't shake the question burrowing deep in his heart: could a broken community, through resilience and unity, reclaim the dreams that once tied them all together? The sun lifted over Maple Grove the next day, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, but the warmth did little to soothe Tom's mind. He paced inside his small apartment, the teddy bear resting on the coffee table as a painful reminder of Sophie and their daughter. The walls around him felt like a cage, echoing with memories that taunted him. Today was the day of the rally in front of the landlord's office. Tom had gathered support, and with that came hope, yet all he could think about were the whispers that swarmed him like flies. The more he reached out, the more he sensed apprehension from those who were once eager to join his cause. Would they show up? Would they rally behind him or betray his trust? "Simon, just breathe," he whispered to himself, running a hand through his disheveled hair. He couldn't falter now, not when so many depended on him to act as their voice. Horace, a veteran with a presence that filled any room, had rallied a handful of supporters. They had practiced chants and standpoints, but something gnawed at Tom: uncertainty, fear, betrayal. As he made his way to the site, glancing at the crowd slowly building outside. An electric tension filled the air. The group of neighbors huddled together, some clutching signs, others dressed in old military jackets that spoke of service and sacrifice. He spotted Horace, his face set in a determined frown, pacing back and forth like a general before a battle. "Hey, can you keep him together?" Tom asked as he approached, pointing to the scattered crowd that looked more like a collection of isolated individuals than a united front. Horace nodded, his tone low and serious. "They're anxious, Tom. A few of them have heard things about the landlord's connections. We gotta be careful." Tom felt like the ground was slipping beneath him. A gnawing worry tugged at his gut. What if they turned on each other? What if his own grief clouded his judgment? But he stepped closer, took a breath, and steadied his shaking hands. "Friends!" he called out, raising his voice so it echoed in the silence that hung heavily above them. "We're here today because we refuse to live in fear. We deserve better than this. We owe it to ourselves, and to the memory of those we've lost." A few faces turned toward him, nodding. He continued, feeling the collective energy rise. The spark ignited. A wave of encouragement began to ripple through. "This is our home. We can't let anyone take it away." Just as the crowd began to respond, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The landlord stepped out, a smug grin plastered across his face. He adjusted his tie and scanned the gathering with a mocking expression. A hush fell over the crowd. "There he is," Tom murmured, fists clenched at his side. Fear twisted in his stomach, but then he glanced at Horace, who nodded encouragingly. Tom felt a surge of adrenaline. Standing up against this man meant fighting for everything he had lost. With a shaky breath, Tom stepped forward, his spirit ignited, ready to face whatever came next. But beyond that confrontation, something much darker loomed over Maple Grove. As whispers of the landlord's influence spread, Tom felt an unsettling foreboding. What else was at stake? Moving toward the now-present threat, Tom couldn't help but wonder, would this be the moment they finally stood up, or would fear seal their fate? The crowd held its breath, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. Tom's heart raced as he locked eyes with the landlord, who had started swaggering toward him. The man's confidence radiated like a dark cloud threatening to swallow the fragile hope Tom had sparked. "Look at this ridiculous circus," the landlord shouted, his condescending laugh ringing through the streets. "You think a few sad faces holding signs will scare me?" Tom felt anger flare inside him. It was raw and powerful. With every taunt, he could feel the collective grit of the people behind him. They were standing tall, weary but ready to fight against the tide of injustice. He raised his voice above the landlord's jeers. "You might think we're sad, but you don't know our strength. We are people who care about our community. We will not be silenced." The murmurs in the crowd transformed into supportive cheers. Tom could see the flickers of determination in their eyes, reminiscent of those moments he had spent with Sophie planning celebrations, or discussing hopes for a brighter future for their daughter. Yes, she was gone, but that didn't mean he had to let go of everything they had dreamt of for Maple Grove. The landlord's expression darkened, faltering for just a moment as if he finally recognized the conviction before him. Yet, he quickly regained his smug demeanor, leaning in slightly as he sneered, "This will end badly for you, little man. There are people with money and power who will crush this little protest." Fear rippled through the crowd as they looked at one another, uncertainty seeping in like a chill on a spring morning. But Tom knew that there was no turning back. He had to keep pushing. They all had to. With a deep breath, he pressed on. "You only want to divide us because you fear our unity. We've seen betrayal and loss, but we've also seen what it means to come together as one. If the powerful think they can scare us, they are wrong." The crowd erupted behind him. Voices rose to echo his sentiments, fists clenched in solidarity. But Tom could see the landlord's unwavering grin. It was a mask hiding something darker. Just then, a woman stepped forward, her hand raised as if to silence the crowd. Tom knew her, Lily. She had been among the first to volunteer and organize. "Tom! Wait!" She called out, a sharp edge to her voice. "What is it?" He replied, his heart pounding with the urgency of the moment. "After what you just said, I overheard the landlord talking to someone. He's planning on using intimidation tactics. He knows that fear works. He's not just angry, he's vengeful." Fear tightened its grip again, but Tom refused to back down. "Then we need to show him that his tactics won't work. We stand together. Let him throw his worst at us." A loud cheer erupted from the crowd. Tom felt layers of hesitation peel away. Maybe they could withstand what was coming, but he had to believe it deeply. He glanced back at Horace, who nodded, the fire of courage igniting between them. But before Tom could continue rallying the troops, a sudden flash of lights caught his attention. A nearby news van had arrived, cameras rolling and reporters poised to share their story. "All right," Tom yelled, pivoting back to the crowd. "Let us show them what Maple Grove is made of." As they began chanting louder, Tom's eyes flicked to the landlord. The man's expression had soured, and for the first time, he appeared uncertain. But Tom wasn't done yet, he was just getting started. With the spotlight now on them, this could be their moment. And in that instant, Tom sensed something. Not just danger, but a chance for something bigger than himself. This was about redemption, resilience, and a fight for their future. As the initial cheers settled into a sustained roar, thoughts swirled in Tom's mind. What other truths lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed? Because in exposing the darkness of one man, would they discover the light of their own unity? The energy in the air crackled like electricity, the crowd's voices intertwining into one powerful pulse. Tom clenched his fists, feeling the life surge through him as he took in the faces of those around him. Hope mingled with fear, creating a potent cocktail of determination. He caught a glimpse of Lily, her brow furrowed in concentration, clearly torn between her instinct to protect the group and the fire igniting within her. "Remember why we're here," Tom shouted, his voice rising above the sea of bodies. "This isn't just about a building. It's about our homes, our families, our futures." The crowd erupted in a synchronized chant, their hearts beating as one. Tom noticed the landlord's demeanor shift, his confidence faltering as he realized the tide was turning against him. The familiar swell of anxiety washed over Tom again, but it was swallowed by adrenaline. He wasn't alone, he had a community ready to stand firm beside him. Suddenly, a blaring siren sliced through the noise. A police car pulled up, its lights spinning in a fierce, strobe-like motion. Tension swept through the crowd, confusion painted their faces. Tom felt a knot in his stomach but pushed it aside. "Stay calm," he called, raising his hands. "We're within our rights. We're not here to cause trouble." One officer stepped out, her expression unreadable beneath a cap that concealed her eyes. Tom's heart raced. Would they be met with understanding or hostility? "What is going on here?" she asked, voice steady, ringing through the thrumming energy. "This is a protest, officer," Tom shouted back, determination clawing at his chest. "We're standing up against the injustices happening in Maple Grove." The officer studied him, searching for something beyond the surface. "Do you have a permit for this gathering?" Tom hesitated but quickly gathered his thoughts. "We're not obstructing traffic. We're standing up for our homes and our rights. Please, we need your support." The officer's focus shifted to the landlord, who had taken a step back, uncharacteristically quiet now. A moment passed before the officer said, "I'll need to write this up." "But you," she pointed at Tom, her tone softening ever so slightly, "don't make it worse. Keep it peaceful." With that, she retreated to her vehicle, leaving Tom with a mix of relief and uncertainty. The crowd erupted into chatter, conflicting emotions swirling among them. Tom could feel the mix of hope and trepidation swirling in the air like storm clouds, ready to burst. "Look," Lily said, stepping forward, her voice urgent, "we need to push this narrative. If we can get the press on our side, it'll shine a light on this and put pressure on him." Tom agreed, but an unsettling thought lingered. What if he retaliates? What will he do if he feels cornered? The image of the landlord's smug grin replayed in his mind, but now it reflected a new depth of malice. What if he tries to shut us down? Asked Horace, his brow furrowed with concern. Then we amplify our message. Tom replied, fear transforming into a fierce flame of conviction. But we can't do it alone. We need everyone to take to social media, call their friends. We need to show him that this isn't just about one protest, this is about standing united. We're not just a few sad faces, we're a force. As the crowd began to mobilize, phone screens lighting up like fireflies in the dusk, Tom felt a surge of hope. But an ominous thought nestled at the back of his mind. What if the landlord had allies? What if he had plans they hadn't seen yet? The energy shifted subtly, a concept settling over him. This fight was only just beginning, and darkness always thrived where the light struggled to break through. Tom looked out at his neighbors, people he had only seen in passing before. Together, they were becoming more than a protest, they were family, forged in the fires of desperation. But as he channeled his fear into action, he couldn't shake the thoughts of impending danger. What twisted paths might the landlord tread to reclaim his power? The air thick with anticipation, he felt the weight of the moment not just on his shoulders, but everyone's. The battle for their homes had begun, but at what cost? Amid the growing buzz of phone notifications and hurried conversations, Tom stepped back to collect himself. Each chant from the crowd seemed to intertwine with his racing thoughts. He knew that moments like these were rare, unity was a fragile thread, and they were hanging on to it for dear life. "Let us gather around," he called, trying to rally the momentum. "We need to organize our plan, get our voices out there." The crowd began to form a tighter circle, faces illuminated by the soft glow of cell phone screens. Tom caught Lily's determined gaze and felt a swell of pride at their budding coalition. This was their home, all of theirs, stitched together out of shared struggles. "Here's what we need to do," Tom said, heart pounding with urgency. "We need to create a clear message. Let us write a statement, something powerful. Get the press interested. Make it impossible for the landlord to turn away." Different voices chimed in, each one adding fuel to the fire in the air. "What about social media? Everyone's on it. We can create a hashtag to spread our story." Someone suggested. "Yes. Something that captures our fight," shouted another. The crowd buzzed, ideas bouncing around like pinballs, each one more energized than the last. As they brainstormed, Tom felt the weight of the landlord's presence still looming. He remembered the way the man had grinned, a mask of arrogance hidden behind his tailored suit. Tom wondered about the lengths he would go to maintain his grip on power. The potential for retaliation churned in his stomach like a storm brewing on the horizon. Suddenly, a new voice pierced the air. "Hey!" A tall figure was sprinting through the crowd, panic etched across his face. It was Eric, a young father from the building with a little girl who often played with Lily at the park. "They're setting up barricades." Tom's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "Down by the main road. I heard it from a friend in the police department. They're planning to block us off." A hush fell over the group as the weight of Eric's words settled. Tom's mind raced. "We won't let them intimidate us. We'll stand our ground." But inside, doubt flickered. Can we really continue without risking it all? What if we get arrested? A voice from the back asked, hesitant. Tom scanned the crowd, meeting eyes filled with fear but also fierceness. "That's a risk we might have to take. If we go quietly, he wins. But if we stand, we show our strength, our resolve." A low murmur rippled through the crowd, a mix of voices voicing agreement, uncertainty, and a rush of courage. The tension escalated as Tom continued, "We need to make a choice. Are we ready to fight for what's right? Are we ready to fight for our homes?" As if pulled by an invisible string, the group began to nod and chant again. Tom could feel their collective energy building once more. This was more than a protest, it was a stand against injustice that no one could ignore. But just when it seemed they had aligned purpose, the sharp sound of a whistle split the air. Turbulence coursed through the crowd as police began to move in, forming lines with their shields glimmering in the fading light. "Stay together," Tom urged, his voice steady despite the storm of adrenaline flooding his veins. "We're not backing down." In that moment, as fear tangled with resolve, Tom could see lives intertwining like branches in a fierce wind, held together by the unyielding force of hope. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a more tumultuous struggle. He caught a glimpse of the landlord watching from a distance, the storm clouds in Tom's gut darkening. What was he planning, really? The question loomed over him, a shadow he couldn't escape. As the police closed in, the urgency of the moment pressed heavy against Tom's chest, a call to action against uncertainty. Would they be strong enough to withstand whatever was coming next? The answer felt just beyond reach, and the fight ahead, more perilous than ever. The crowd was electric, buzzing with a mixture of fear and fervor. Tom felt the weight of their collective breath, a fragile harmony of hope and anxiety, as he stood at the center of this whirlwind. "Remember why we're here," he shouted, his voice cutting through the tension. "We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every person in this community. For the kids, for the families that deserve a roof over their heads." Around him, heads nodded. Lily stood closer now, her little hand gripping Tom's, a sense of comfort in the chaos. This was her home too, and it gave Tom strength. The police were advancing, a line of blue uniforms and shields. It felt like a wall of oppression, pushing against their resolve. Fear crept into the edges of Tom's mind, gnawing at him like a relentless beast. Yet he couldn't show it. "Hold together," he urged again, a silent plea to stay united. Suddenly, a loudspeaker crackled to life. "This is an unlawful assembly. Disperse immediately or face arrest." The words sunk into the crowd, and for a heartbeat, it seemed as if the fight might drain away. Then Tom saw the flickers in their eyes, doubt battling with determination. "What do we do?" someone cried, a plea for direction in this storm. "Listen," Tom shouted, his heart pounding. "We won't be scattered. We're stronger together. Let us raise our voices. Let them hear us." And then, something beautiful happened. One voice, two, three, the chants ignited again, building into a thunderous roar. "No justice, no peace. Housing is a right, not a privilege." It surged through the crowd, a tidal wave pushing against the police line. Eric was to Tom's left, and together they locked eyes. "We won't back down," he echoed, tightening his grip on Tom's shoulder. It felt like a promise, a seal of their shared commitment. The police advanced, shields glinting ominously. But Tom found his footing, anchored in the spirit of those around him. "They can try to silence us," he declared, "but they can't erase our stories. We have families, we have dreams, and we won't let them be taken from us." The chants grew louder, reverberating off the walls of surrounding buildings. Passers-by began to stop, drawn in by the growing movement, their curiosity piquing amid the conflict. Some pulled out their phones, recording, sharing in real time. The world outside was tuning in, amplifying their voices. Then, a girl in the front of the crowd lifted a sign she'd made, a simple, hand-drawn picture of a house with the words "Home is where love is." It reflected the very essence of their fight, and for a moment, the crowd fell silent, taking in the poignant image. That silence didn't last long. Someone began to clap, slowly at first, but it quickly spiraled into a wave of applause, a unity of hearts that echoed like a drumbeat. Hope blossomed amid the chaos, stronger than the wall of shields before them. But just as triumph seemed within reach, a loud crash echoed through the air. A barricade collapsed under the weight of chaotic movements, sending a shudder through the crowd. Panic surged, and Tom's heart raced. People began to scatter, fear seeping through like a thick fog. "Stay together!" Tom shouted, grasping Lily's hand tighter, desperately trying to pull them closer. But adrenaline drove a wedge of anxiety deep into his gut. What if they lost the others? The realization crashed against him like a wave. We need to protect each other. Tom! Lily called, her wide eyes full of fear. What do we do? The question rang through him, weighing heavy. They were at a crossroads. In this moment of uncertainty, could they unify their strength and turn the tide back in their favor? As he scanned the crowd, Tom locked eyes with the landlord, now standing at a distance, an expression of impatience written across his face. What did he plan next? Time felt suspended, each second stretching into an eternity. As the police tightened their grip, will they let fear win, or does hope still have a chance to shine through? Tom felt the answer ripple through the air. His next words could ignite a revolution, but the risks loomed just ahead. A wave of adrenaline pulsed through Tom's veins, mingling with fear and determination. He needed to act, not just for himself but for everyone around him. We stand our ground. He shouted, and this time, his voice was steadier, infused with a newfound resolve. The crowd paused, a collective breath hanging in anticipation. Together. He shouted again, louder this time. We have the power when we hold our voices up high and our hearts even higher. Lily squeezed his hand, her innocence grounding him. She may not fully understand the magnitude of the moment, but she sensed his urgency. They need to be strong not just for her, but for all the families, the mothers and fathers, everyone who had been pushed aside for too long. The police were just feet away now, their shields reflecting the sunlight like cold mirrors, and Tom felt the weight of their gaze pressing down on him. But he wouldn't let the fear of those shields break their spirit. With the crowd rallying behind him, Tom took a step forward. If we back down, we let them win. This is our home. A chorus of voices responded, the determination binding them tighter. As if the world outside was listening, chants surged again, each repetition an echo of power. No justice, no peace. It was electric, it wrapped around them, filling the air with a collective belief that maybe, just maybe, they could turn this tide. Suddenly, the landlord stepped forward, positioning himself closer to the line of officers, a smirk plastered on his face. It was as if he relished the fear he had inflicted. Tom's anger ignited. You! He shouted, locking eyes with the man who had caused so much hurt. You think you can just trample over our rights? Don't you dare underestimate our fight. The landlord looked taken aback, startled, but it was only for a moment. You think you're heroes? You're just a bunch of troublemakers. He shouted back, but his voice quaked slightly. The crowd reacted, their shouts growing louder. Tom felt a surge of determination. You know the truth, don't you? We are not just a bunch, we are families, fathers, mothers, and children. We're all in this together, standing up against oppression. With every word, he saw the crowd swelling with renewed strength. They were not just voices, they were a living, breathing entity. Tom's heart swelled with hope, but he couldn't shake the fear coiling around him. What would happen if the police decided to push them back? Yet, as he glanced down at Lily, her bright eyes glimmering with faith, Tom realized he couldn't afford to hesitate. We won't give in. Families have a right to housing. He proclaimed. In a moment of collective clarity, something shifted. The rhythm of the crowd changed, it wasn't just about the protest anymore. It became personal. Their lives were interconnected, and this fight was about love and survival. He turned his gaze back to the officers, who seemed to be reconsidering their stance, caught off guard by the fierce resolve in front of them. What will it be? He challenged. Are you willing to stand with us? Or will you choose to uphold a system that oppresses? Just then, a loud noise erupted, breaking through the layered intensity. A canister rolled into the crowd, releasing clouds of smoke. A panic spread like wildfire. Cries rang out, and people stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Stay calm. We can't break. Tom yelled, feeling Lily trembling by his side. He bent down, pulling her into a protective embrace, feeling her heartbeat match his own terror. It's okay, he whispered, though he wasn't sure if he believed it himself. With chaos erupting around him, Tom's mind raced. In this moment of turmoil, could clarity emerge? Would fear shatter their unity, or could they find their way through the storm together? As the smoke curled around them, so did a heavy uncertainty. Would they rise above the confusion, or was this just the beginning of a much darker twist in their fight? Tom's heart pounded in rhythm with the frantic chaos surrounding him. The acrid smoke stung his eyes, and he fought to keep his footing while cradling Lily close. She was so small, yet so full of hope, her tiny breaths hitching in fear against his chest. Each gasp made his heart ache deeper. Hold on. We're going to be okay. He shouted, trying to soothe both her and himself. Tom squeezed her hand tightly, feeling the warmth of her small fingers tighten around his. Daddy, she whimpered, her voice barely cutting through the shouts and panic. Stay close to me. He urged, scanning the crowd. People were already moving to clear the area, and not everyone was holding it together. Some parents had lost their grip on their children, and cries for help erupted from various corners. The solidarity they had forged seemed to fray as fear colored their faces. Focus! Tom shouted, lifting his voice as high as it could go. Remember why we're here. Don't let fear win. His words pierced through the chaos for just a moment. He saw faces lift, eyes meeting his, searching for reassurance. There was still strength in their unity, he realized. With shared resolve sparking between them, they could stand together, even through this smoke. Push to the front. We won't let them push us back. A voice shouted, and Tom recognized Manuel, a father of 3. With a swift nod of acknowledgement, he joined up with the gathering crowd. They began moving forward, a wave of bodies pressing against each other, shielding one another from the encroaching fear. The police began to retreat slightly, caught off guard by the resurgence of spirit. Tom felt a spark of hope rekindling within him. People were shouting back, chanting once again, their voices stronger, more defiant. Each step brought them closer, not just to the officers, but to reclaiming what had been taken from them. As they pushed through the callous haze, Tom caught a glimpse of the landlord still standing near the front line, disbelief written all over his smug face. The smirk that had empowered him just minutes ago was fading. Look at them! Tom yelled, fixing his gaze on the landlord. Look at what you've created. We will not back down. You thought we were broken, but this fire can't be snuffed out. The crowd erupted in a roar, their collective breath filling the air with an electric charge. Tom could feel the power of their unity like a heartbeat, steady and forceful. For a fleeting moment, everything else melted away, families united as one. Then, a piercing scream sliced through the air. It was a mother frantically calling for her child lost in the chaos. The sound felt like a fist to Tom's gut. He momentarily forgot everything, his heart racing as he released Lily's hand. Stay here. He instructed, finding his voice. He needed to make sure Lily was safe first. Don't move, promise me. She nodded, wide-eyed, but tears began to pool as he ran toward the direction of the frightened cries. As he dashed through the crowd, weaving in and out, he felt that fire inside him burning brighter. The fear still lingered outside, thick like the smoke still curling around them, but Tom's determination had started to morph into action. Each step brought more clarity, each scream a reminder of what they were fighting for. Moments later, he spotted a small figure crouched beneath a nearby table, trembling. A little girl, no older than Lily, clutching a stuffed bear. Hey there, he ventured cautiously, kneeling down to her level. "It's okay. I'm here to help you." Her eyes widened with fear but dimmed slightly as she met his gaze. Tom reached out a hand, inching closer. "Let us get you back to your mom," he said gently. Just behind him, he heard voices rising again, surging with a force that felt unstoppable. "Tom!" A voice called. It was Lily S., breaking through the chaos. He turned to see her moving towards him through the smoke, fear written across her face but determination shining in her eyes. "Stay back!" he called, instinctively trying to protect her. But as she pressed forward, it hit him. How could he tell her to be afraid when he was determined to fight? As he processed that thought, he realized they could face this darkness together. But would that be enough to protect them? Could their bond outlast the challenges ahead? He gripped the little girl's hand tightly, and they raced back toward Lily, the crowd pulling them both together. The moment felt pivotal, a connection igniting their spirits. But beyond this newfound hope, deeper fears loomed. What lay ahead in this fight, and would their unity withstand what was to come? The chaos swirled around Tom like a tempest, and in that moment, all that mattered was getting back to Lily. He strained his ears to hear her, the familiar sound of her small voice calling out to him breaking through the muddled noise. As he and the little girl wove their way through the panicked crowd, Tom felt a surge of adrenaline. The sounds of desperation filled the air: sobs, shouts, people calling for loved ones lost in the surging tide of chaos. With each desperate cry, he felt his heart clenching tighter, not just for the trapped souls lost in the smoke, but for the unwavering bond between him and his daughter. "Lily!" he managed to shout over the chaos. "I'm coming." The smoke began to clear slightly, allowing glimpses of the crowd pushing forward, determined to reclaim their space, their rights, their lives. His eyes caught movement, and he spotted her, the familiar pink jacket shining like a beacon. But she wasn't alone. There was a small group of children gathered around her, fearful and confused. "Tom!" Lily cried again, voice sharp with worry. The way she reached for him made his heart swell. "Stay together!" he yelled to her and the others, approaching the group quickly. Relief washed over him like cool water when he reached Lily, wrapping his arms around her. The warmth of her small body against his filled him with a protective rage, amplifying his resolve to fight for their future. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here," he whispered, brushing her hair from her eyes. She looked up, trusting him to shield her from the storm that surrounded them. Suddenly, a booming voice rang out, a police chief he recognized from town meetings. "Everyone needs to disperse. This is an emergency situation." The tension thickened. Tom felt the weight of authority pressing down, forcing his resolve to clash against the fear that threatened to sweep them away. It was the moment when he saw the landlord attempting to flee, his self-satisfied grin now replaced with panic. "Not this time!" Tom shouted, anger surging. "You've exploited us long enough. We've had enough of your greed." The crowd took note, the echoes of collective energy coursing through them. Fear and courage danced together, igniting the spirit of defiance once more. People began to chant Tom's words, "Enough! Enough!" Realizing the tide was turning, he felt a wave of hope. The unity surged, sparking something within everyone present. Mothers holding their children tighter. Fathers standing shoulder to shoulder, arms raised in solidarity. "Together!" Tom shouted, urgency rising. "We stand together or fall apart. Are we going to give up?" The energy shifted with each word he spoke, rippling through the crowd. They were more than just individuals, they were a community. A collective heartbeat filled the air, infusing it with courage. As cheers erupted around him, he turned to Lily, her eyes bright with fire. In that moment, he understood that their love and determination would carry them through. But just as hope ignited, a sudden crackle pierced the air. With wide eyes, Tom noticed the police line shifting unsteadily, a warning blaring behind a barricade. Everyone's attention turned as a heavy presence descended upon them. The words "not safe" hung like heavy clouds low in the sky. Tom instinctively shielded Lily, feeling the weight of protection solidify in his core. What if this was just the beginning? As uncertainty loomed ominously over them, one thought surfaced: could their brave stand truly change the world around them? And then, competing with the pulse of fear, a new voice exploded through the tumult: "We won't back down." Echoing that passionate vow, Tom felt the tension crackle in the air. Hope glimmered just out of reach, suspended before him like a moment hanging in time. But the shadows deepened around them, and with danger encroaching closer, he knew their fight had only just begun. They had chosen to confront the darkness together, and now they would have to push forward or risk losing everything they held dear. What would they face next in this battle for their families, their homes, their lives? Would their bond truly shield them from the heartache ahead? The air was thick with emotion, a mix of anticipation and trepidation as Tom stood firm, protecting Lily and the little girl he had rescued. The sound of the crowd chanting grew louder, surging through the smoke with defiant clarity. "We won't back down," resonated like a battle cry. Tom felt the energy centering around him, hope igniting the hearts of everyone present. It filled him with strength. This wasn't just a protest anymore, it was a lifeline. They had all come together as family, standing side by side against the relentless tide of greed and oppression. The police chief's face hardened as he looked toward the landlord, whose confidence had evaporated but not his arrogance. It was a standoff, one side representing the power of community, the other the cold execution of authority. Tom couldn't let the resolve falter. No more intimidation. He yelled, his voice breaking through the tension. "We deserve respect. We deserve to live freely in our homes." The outrage rippled through the crowd, faces hardening with conviction. The frightened and confused transformed into a legion of resilience, the energy shifting once more. The collective strength was undeniable. They were no longer just individuals, they were a united front, unwavering in their mission to reclaim dignity and home. Suddenly, a flicker of movement drew Tom's eye. The landlord was retreating, craning his neck as if searching for an escape route. That moment ignited the fire in Tom's chest. "You can run, but you can't hide. We will expose your lies." The crowd roared in agreement, the sound echoing through the streets, feeding off Tom's fervor. But just then, the officer who had issued warnings raised her hand, signaling the line of police to advance. "Disperse now or face arrest," she bellowed, her stance rigid, but something in her eyes revealed uncertainty. Tom didn't hesitate. This was their moment. "Move back," he shouted, unsure if it would make a difference, but he felt it burn within him. "If you want to take us away, then arrest us all. We will stand united. No force can break our spirit." The crowd responded as one, blossoming into an uproar. The police hesitated, and in that precious moment, Tom seized the chance to surge forward. "Together, we will be heard. Together, we will demand justice for every family in Maple Grove." With Lily pressed tightly against him, her tiny frame a reminder of everything he was fighting for, Tom led the charge forward. Every breath he took mingled with the chants of solidarity pulsing from their ranks like drums beating against the silence imposed by fear. The sound began to morph, echoing back toward the landlord. "Justice for Maple Grove." They shouted in unison, their defiance literally shaking the ground beneath the panic. As they pressed closer, the officers' shields began to falter. The police lines seemed to bend under the relentless force of their unity, inching back as Tom called forth, "Keep pushing. Show them our strength." The officers exchanged glances, their uncertainty was palpable. The balance of power was shifting. This was a moment of reckoning. Just then, a voice broke through, sharp and clear: "Lily's. Daddy, we can't let them be mean to other people anymore," she declared, bright eyes fixed on the police, her small body radiating innocence mixed with the audacity that only a child's spirit could inspire. Tom's heart swelled with pride. "You're right, sweetheart," he cried. This is about everyone. Let our voices ring out loud. Let them know we are here to stay. The crowd surged forward, hearts pounding, fists raised high. And then, the most unexpected moment happened. A police officer, visibly moved by the determination of the people, lowered his shield slightly. It felt like a crack in the facade of authority. Tom seized that opening. Join us. Stand with us. With one chant after another, the crowd echoed his call, their voices merging with fervor. It felt like an anthem, a declaration of love and community undeniable even to those enforcing the law. Slowly, the atmosphere shifted, the tension lifting as chants blossomed into songs. Around them, something miraculous began to take place. Officers started placing their shields down, stepping back, some even beginning to nod in unison with the rising cries for justice. A swell of elation washed over Tom, energizing the crowd even more. The power of community became palpable, each person reminded of the bonds that unknotted the threads of despair. Just as the tide seemed fully in their favor, the landlord, desperation etched deep in his features, turned to address the crowd. You think this is just about houses? You think a protest is going to change anything? Tom stepped forward, unwavering. No, it's about our lives. It's about our families. It's about you understanding the power of what you fear. You fear us coming together. As he spoke, the crowd gathered strength behind him, their voices harmonizing, drowning out the landlord's disdain. Show us the way. We will not silence our love. The voices rose, twining around like vines, growing deeper roots each moment, transforming the air thick with hope. Realizing he was losing ground, the landlord turned on his heel, scrambling back into his black car. The uncertainty was suffocating, but courage buoyed them as Tom raised his voice once more. We are Maple Grove. We are strong, we are united, and we will not be divided. This is just the beginning of our journey. Our voices will echo through every street and every corner. As the black car drove away, a cheer exploded from the crowd, a release of pent-up energy cascading through them like a tidal wave crashing against the shore. Tom's heart swelled as he gathered Lily into his arms, tears mixing with the laughter of those around him. A wave of joy washed over them, their fight not just surviving but transforming into something beautiful. They had come together, hearts beating in sync, and they would continue to rise to meet whatever came next in unison. This was only the beginning. They had reclaimed their community, their lives, and they stood stronger than ever before. With a radiant smile, Tom looked at Lily. We are home, sweetheart. Together. And so they began the difficult but necessary work of rebuilding. Walls of despair turned into bridges of hope, weaving through Maple Grove as they all stepped forward into a brighter future, arm in arm, ready to embrace every challenge ahead. Now, as Tom turned to face his neighbors, a fierce resolution burned within him. Let us make sure our homes are never threatened again. We will continue to stand guard, united in strength and love. The air was filled with applause as they all took that next step together, hearts beating like drums, voices raised like banners, the promise of a new dawn shining brightly ahead. This was their moment, and they would not let it slip away. As the sun set over Maple Grove, it did so with a blaze of orange and pink, a reminder that even after the darkest storms, a new day would always arrive, and they would welcome it together. And that was the true victory. If you're moved by this journey and the power of community, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for these incredible stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your voice matters. Comment below to share your feelings about this ending and let me know how it resonates with you. Don't wait not even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation of love and unity. Let us spread the message far and wide.